is Gary Duffield. Gary shared a story the last time we were here, a serendipity story. This time he's sharing a spare room story. Gary and I met as we both presenters on 89.7 FM along with Campo, did it on punch for the best radio station in the north. Gary said yes a couple of times when I asked him to share a story. And the story that Gary is going to be sharing tonight is called The Case of the Disappearing Dad. Please welcome Gary Duffield.
Boy, have I got a deal for you. This is a story of not just one, not just two, but three spare rooms. The first spare room is in my house right now, and we have a guest arriving in an hour's time from the UK, stayed for 3 weeks. She just texted, I'm at the airport, where are you? We'll be there in a bit. The other two rooms? Yeah, I'll just finish this, we'll be right. The other two rooms, very different rooms. One is full of betrayal, distrust, tore the very fabric of my family to pieces. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? The second room full of new beginnings and hopefully happy endings. This is part of the second story. But first, in the best tradition of a typical Doctor Who episode, let's go back in time to the 1970s. I was happy then, not married to the kids. Farrah Fawcett pinch on the wall. We went to live in Nigeria or West Africa, and it was a charmed life. Until my sister Jane left school, this plot point, if you remember the name Jane, we'll come back to that a bit later on. And my mum had to return with us kids to the United Kingdom, to a semi-detached life, doing what we do. And it was great. My dad would come back 3 times a year to Nigeria, then twice a year, and then once a year, and then he disappeared. There was no trace of him. We heard nothing from him. We had no way to contact him. I became my mum's sole carer. She's getting older and older and older as time went on. And it was my job to sort her insurance out and do the shopping. Typical Sunday went like this. Gary! I need to go to Sainsbury's. I need a bottle of Johnny Walker's, 200 Benson and Hedges, and a dozen eggs. Yeah, all right, Mum, I'm not sure what you're doing with the eggs, but it was an interesting time. And it just became normal for us. And then I went to the United States on a business meeting to Minneapolis. I stayed an extra day to visit the Mall. This is the sad bit, by the way, to visit the Mall of America. That's not the sad bit. The sad bit is when I returned, I found my mum had been in the bath for 2 days. She passed away. Thank you. Her first question to me was, is Art coming? Art was coming. I checked to see him. She put her life on hold, waiting for him. And we had no way to contact him. So I summoned the great power of the internet. I used LinkedIn and a BBC reporter who shared the same surname. They were able to track him down. I spoke to him. Gary, make the problem go away. So I did. I sorted out a care home for my mum, and then a couple of weeks later, we buried her because she passed away. Which was probably, in the scheme of things, a good thing, because she didn't hear the story that came out after that. Trust me, we're not getting to the spare room. So he turned up, he took the money, half of her money, and disappeared again. And he settled into a routine where he'd come and visit us from time to time. And then one day, for reasons I truly do not understand, I was going through his bin. Maybe I was hungry, maybe I was looking for some tweet. And I found a scrumpled up bit of paper. I unfolded it. It was a copy of his driving license that had knocked 20 years off his age. It was clearly a fake. Later on that evening, I spent some time listening to Ben Door while he spoke to somebody on the phone. He was speaking to his wife. He was basically a bigamist. He'd been living an alternate existence and actually started another family. Well, I suppose this is quite funny retrospectively, but at the time it was a little bit challenging. In theory, I'm the last of Duffields. I have a daughter. I'm no longer the last of Duffields. We basically changed colour at this generation and we go off in an entirely different direction. I mean, that might not be politically correct, but that is the case. He had a number of other kids, including one, a daughter, he called Jane. I have a sister called Jane. To ease confusion, he'd given 2 kids the same name. But it's all right, he had a son. So surely you can't call him Gabby. No, he called him Arthur, can't you? I can't even win in that respect. There was a lot of information that actually, when you put it together afterwards, everything falls into place. I found a christening gift for James Duffield. James Duffield all the time. I found a university application for another Duffield. How, as I said, existence. I was in the boat in Mindari when I learned that he passed away, and I can't say he's sad, I'm completely honest. It was hard to internalise the existence that he'd had, because I could never lie to my wife. I couldn't give people half an hour late, the dinner's cold. Not that we ever eat at home, but if we did, and it was then that might have been a challenge for me. But no, he'd been living his little life. There was a will to be read. We had this flat. My mum had assets, he had assets. My dear sister Jane had sided with him, and essentially all my mum's assets, everything that she had, basically got to a family she didn't know existed. Which is pretty sad. You know, my daughter still doesn't know how to pay her. She's used all the house. She just keeps doing calls. When she'll graduate, she's 25. And I think it's the 9th degree she started. She's having to fund all of that herself. But that's really just half the course. The will was read and people who my mum didn't even know. But where there's a will, there's usually a whole heap of relations, as you probably know. This delayed my eventual move to Australia. I couldn't move as long as my mum needed me. So it was late in the day, age 40. She came last time I told the story, in fact. I was 44, managed to sneak in, took a huge salary decrease on a temporary visa to move here because I had to wait all that time. But it was absolutely the right move for us. But unfortunately in 2011, as soon as you may remember, it was so tough to get a rental. You turn up, as it is today, you turn up and there'll be 20 other people there, you can week's money down. Fortunately for us, we had some very good friends, always recording us on them, and Laura. They lived in Wanneroo. They opened up their spare room to me, and I was able to live in their spare room in Wanneroo with parrots and peace, and rebooting my life and starting all over again. I'm sad my mum doesn't know that I made this move, but I'm ecstatically happy that she didn't know the backstory of my dad. And you know what? If she's alive today, she'd phone me up, long way away, Australia. How are you going to get me 200 pence off the Johnny White? Thank you for your time.